Commander Elian Frost hadn't planned to find anything important on this routine patrol. The outer rim was mostly empty space, dotted with mining operations and the occasional trading post. His small scout vessel, the Starlight, hummed quietly as he navigated through an asteroid field at the edge of charted Alliance territory. The communication alert pinged softly. Elian frowned. No one should be contacting him out here. Unusual energy signature detected, his ship's AI reported. Pattern matches unregistered docking facilities. Elian adjusted course. Unregistered facilities often meant smugglers or worse. Alliance protocol required investigation, even if common sense suggested calling for backup first. Keep us masked by the asteroid field, he ordered. Passive scans only. As the Starlight drifted closer, a structure materialized against the darkness, a retrofitted cargo hauler anchored to a large asteroid, surrounded by a dozen smaller ships. No identifying markers, no beacon. Definitely illegal. Elian calibrated his long-range scanner and watched as the data streamed across his view screen. Life signs, numerous species, mostly concentrated in what appeared to be a large central chamber. An auction, he whispered, his gut tightening. The outer rim was notorious for black market trade, weapons, drugs, and sometimes people. He docked his ship on the asteroid's dark side, well away from the facility. The Starlight camouflaged perfectly against the rock. Elian checked his sidearm, pulled on his environment suit, and instructed the AI to maintain stealth protocols. Inside the facility, Elian moved like a shadow, his Alliance training serving him well. He blended with the crowd of traders, mercenaries, and other unsavory types, all drawn by the promise of illegal merchandise. His translator implant filtered through a dozen alien languages as he made his way toward the central chamber. The auction was already underway. Various contraband items exchanged hands for extraordinary sums. Elian recorded everything through his enhanced ocular implant, evidence for Alliance authorities. Then they brought her out. Small and slender with iridescent blue skin that seemed to shimmer even under the harsh lighting. Her large, almond-shaped eyes were clouded with fear but still defiant. Four slender arms were bound behind her back. A Lyridian, one of the most intelligent species in the known galaxy, and supposedly under Alliance protection. Next item, announced the auctioneer, a corpulent Drescian with metallic scales. Lyridian female, young but trained for domestic service. Telepathic abilities intact but suppressed. Bidding starts at 50,000 credits. Elian felt sick. Slavery had been outlawed for generations, yet here it was, happening right before him. The Lyridian girl, barely an adult by her species standards, stared at the floor as traders called out increasingly higher bids. Her name was Vera. Elian didn't know how he knew that, but the certainty filled his mind suddenly. Perhaps her suppressed telepathy wasn't as controlled as the slavers believed. When the bidding reached 200,000 credits, a burly Krell trader pumped his fist in victory. The Lyridian, Vera, was pulled from the stage. Elian slipped away, mind racing. Alliance reinforcements would take days to arrive, and by then Vera and the others would be gone. He had limited resources, no backup, and attempting a rescue would likely end his career if not his life. But as he made his way back to the Starlight, he knew he couldn't leave her here. Something about those defiant eyes haunted him. "Ship," he ordered as he shed his environment suit, "plot all possible escape routes from this sector. And prepare the medical bay. We're about to have company." Commander Elian Frost needed a plan. Direct confrontation would be suicide, the trading post had at least 30 armed guards. He accessed the facility's schematics through his ship's hacking protocols, identifying the holding cells where merchandise was kept. Structural weakness detected in the eastern docking bay, the Starlight's AI reported. Security protocols minimal during shift changes. Elian nodded grimly. Calculate the next shift rotation. Estimated in 43 minutes. He prepared meticulously, loading his neural disruptor, programming a series of false alarms to trigger throughout the facility, and securing escape routes. The Starlight would need to be ready for immediate departure. When the time came, Elian moved with practiced precision. The distractions worked perfectly. Alarms blaring in the western sectors drew most of the security personnel away. He slipped through maintenance corridors, avoiding the few remaining guards. The holding cells were dimly lit and heavily secured, but the electronic locks were no match for Alliance decryption technology. Inside, a dozen cells lined the walls. Most contained various contraband, but 3 held living beings, a pair of Tauran miners and Vera. Her large eyes widened when she saw him. "You are different," she whispered, her translator device producing slightly stilted standard language. "I'm Commander Elian Frost, Earth Alliance," he replied, working on her restraints. "I'm getting you out of here." "They will kill you," she stated, matter-of-factly. "They'll try." Elian smiled grimly, freeing her bonds. "Can you walk?" She nodded, rising gracefully despite her obvious exhaustion. "The others?" "I'll free them too." The Taurans were grateful but declined escape. "We have family here," one explained. "They'll suffer if we flee." Elian respected their choice, providing them with emergency beacons. "When Alliance forces arrive, activate these." Alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. "Intruder alert. Security breach in detention level. Time to run," Elian muttered, leading Vera toward the eastern docking bay. They encountered 2 guards near the exit. Elian dispatched them with his neural disruptor before they could raise additional alarms. Vera watched with curious detachment. "You fight well for a diplomat species," she observed. "Not all humans are diplomats," Elian replied, checking the corridor. They reached the docking bay as heavy footsteps approached from behind. The facility's chief of security, a massive Drovian with cybernetic enhancements, appeared with 4 armed guards. "Thief," the Drovian bellowed. "That property belongs to—" "She belongs to herself," Elian interrupted, pulling Vera behind a stack of cargo containers as energy blasts scorched the wall behind them. Vera's eyes narrowed in concentration. Suddenly, the overhead lighting exploded in a shower of sparks, plunging the bay into darkness. "Telepathic interference," she explained, as Elian glanced at her in surprise. "Not completely suppressed." Taking advantage of the confusion, they made it to the airlock where Elian had docked the Starlight. Once inside, Elian activated emergency launch protocols. "Hang on," he warned as the ship detached violently from the asteroid. The Starlight accelerated away from the trading post, its advanced engines quickly putting distance between them and potential pursuers. Several smaller ships attempted to follow but couldn't match the scout vessel's speed. "Course plotted for Alliance space," the AI confirmed. "Estimated arrival, 73 hours. Elian turned to Vera, who was examining the ship's interior with cautious curiosity. "You're safe now," he assured her. She regarded him with those penetrating eyes. "Why did you risk yourself for me, Commander Frost?" Elian considered the question. "Because it was right," he said simply. "And because no sentient being should be property." Vera's expression softened slightly. "My people have a saying, freedom given freely creates bonds stronger than chains. I am in your debt." "No debt," Elian replied firmly. "Just rest. We have a long journey ahead." As the Starlight sped toward Alliance space, both human and Lyridian knew that their escape was just the beginning. The slavers wouldn't easily forget such an affront, or forgive it. The Starlight cut through the emptiness of deep space, its stealth systems engaged to maximum capacity. Elian had plotted a complex course, avoiding established shipping lanes and known patrol routes, to throw off potential pursuers. In the small medical bay, Vera sat perfectly still as the ship's diagnostic systems assessed her condition. The blue luminescence of her skin had brightened somewhat since their escape, which Elian took as a positive sign. Minor malnutrition and dehydration, the AI reported. Evidence of suppressor drugs in her system. No permanent damage detected. Elian nodded, relief washing over him. Can you synthesize anything to help clear the suppressors? Processing appropriate compounds now. Vera watched this exchange with interest. Your technology is considerate, she observed. Alliance medical protocols are designed for all known sentient species, Elian explained, administering the synthesized medication through a painless dermal applicator. This should help your natural abilities recover faster. The Lyridian closed her eyes briefly. Already, my mind feels clearer. Thank you, Commander. Call me Elian. He moved to the food synthesizer. Are you hungry? The system has Lyridian nutrition profiles. Very. A small smile graced her features, the first he'd seen. As they shared a meal in the ship's compact living area, Elian checked their progress. We're making good time. No signs of pursuit yet, but we're still in contested space. They will not give up easily, Vera said, delicately consuming a crystalline food structure that shimmered like her skin. The Krell trader who purchased me is named Drax Vorin. He has significant resources and a reputation for possessiveness. Elian frowned. Tell me about your homeworld. How did you end up at that auction? Pain flashed across Vera's features. I was a junior scientist on a research vessel. We were studying spatial anomalies in the Cygnus sector when raiders attacked. Most of my colleagues were killed. Those of us who survived were processed and sold. I'm sorry. Elian's hands tightened around his cup. The slavers discovered my telepathic abilities were stronger than average for my species. It made me more valuable, but also more heavily drugged. She looked directly at him. Your mind is very ordered, Elian. Even through the suppressors, I could sense your intentions were different from the others. The ship's alarm suddenly chimed, a proximity alert. Unidentified vessel approaching from Sector 4, the AI announced. Configuration matches known slaver vessels. They found us faster than I expected, Elian muttered, moving quickly to the control console. Increasing power to stealth systems. The pursuing ship was larger than the Starlight and heavily armed, but Elian's scout vessel had the advantage of speed and maneuverability. He guided them into a nearby asteroid field, using the tumbling rocks as cover. They're launching scan drones, the AI reported. Elian cursed under his breath. We need to go silent. Complete power reduction except for life support and minimal propulsion. The Starlight's lights dimmed as systems powered down. In the eerie blue glow cast by Vera's skin, Elian watched the scanner display as the drone spread through the asteroid field. They're using thermal imaging, he whispered. Our engine signature will stand out if they get close enough. Vera's expression became concentrated. Perhaps not. Her four hands moved in complex patterns as she closed her eyes. The temperature gauge on the ship's console began to fluctuate wildly. What are you? Creating thermal distortions, she explained, her voice strained. A Lyridian ability manipulating energy patterns, difficult without practice. On the scanner, the pursuing drone seemed confused, veering away toward different heat signatures Vera was somehow projecting. After tense minutes that felt like hours, the drones withdrew. The slaver vessel moved on, continuing its search in another sector. Elian looked at Vera with newfound respect. That was incredible. She slumped slightly, exhausted. A simple application of thermodynamic principles. My people evolved to regulate environmental energy. You saved us, Elian said simply. Thank you. Their eyes met in the dim light. Something unspoken passed between them, the beginning of trust, perhaps even friendship. We should reach Alliance space in 2 days, Elian said, reactivating the ship's systems. You'll be safe there. Vera's expression remained doubtful. Will I? Your alliance has treaties with many worlds, including those that quietly tolerate trafficking. I won't let anything happen to you, Elian promised. That's my word. As the starlight resumed its journey, both knew the path ahead remained dangerous. But neither were alone anymore, and somehow, that made all the difference. The next 36 hours passed in tense hypervigilance. Elian took brief rest cycles while Vera monitored the scanners, her telepathic senses now almost fully recovered, an early warning system more effective than the ship's technology. During quiet moments, they shared stories. Elian told her about Earth, his upbringing in the Alliance colonies, and his years of service. Vera described Liridia, a world of crystal forests and flowing energy currents where her people commune telepathically across vast distances. My specialty was xenobiology, she explained, examining the ship's small library of scientific texts. I was studying cooperative symbiosis between different species. Ironic, Elian observed with a wry smile. Perhaps not. Vera's 4 hands gestured expressively as she spoke. Our current situation could be considered a form of mutualistic symbiosis. Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden alarm. Not from the ship's systems, but from Vera herself, who stiffened dramatically. Multiple vessels approaching, she whispered, eyes unfocused. 7, no, 8 ships. They're coordinating their movements. Elian checked the long-range scanners, which showed nothing. Are you certain? Yes. They're using some kind of masking technology, but I can sense the minds aboard, focused, determined, angry. Trusting her abilities, Elian changed course immediately, pushing the Starlight's engines to maximum. How far to Alliance space? He asked the AI. Approximately 14 hours at current velocity. Too long, Vera said, concern evident in her voice. They're spreading out to surround us. The first confirmation of Vera's warning came minutes later when the scanners finally detected multiple approaching vessels, a coordinated hunting party led by a massive cruiser. Slaver Guild enforcers, Elian muttered. And that flagship, I recognize the energy signature. It's the Krell trader's personal vessel. Drax Voran, Vera confirmed, her skin paling to a lighter blue. His mind is particularly unpleasant. A communication request flashed on the console. Elian hesitated, then accepted. The screen displayed a heavily built Krell with ornate facial tattoos and cybernetic eye implants. Commander Frost, the Krell rumbled, his translator producing perfect standard. I am Drax Voran. You have something that belongs to me. I have a free individual aboard who belongs to no one, Elian replied evenly. Voran laughed, the sound unnaturally metallic. Let's dispense with idealistic nonsense. Return my property, and I may allow you to live. The Alliance need never know about your interference in legitimate business. Legitimate? Elian's voice hardened. Slavery is outlawed by interstellar covenant. Not in these sectors. Voran leaned closer to the screen. You're still 12 hours from Alliance jurisdiction, Commander. My ships will intercept you in less than 20 minutes. Your vessel is fast but unarmed. The communication ended abruptly. Vera looked at Elian. He's right. We cannot outrun them all. We don't need to. Elian's fingers flew across the navigation console. We just need to reach the Carillion Nebula. It's dense enough to mask our signature completely. The Starlight changed course, heading toward a massive cloud of cosmic dust and ionized gas visible in the distance. Behind them, the pursuing ships adjusted their trajectories. They're launching interceptors, the AI warned. Diverting all non-essential power to engines and shields, Elian responded, his training kicking in. The ship shuddered as the first energy blasts struck their shields. Vera moved to the co-pilot's seat, her hands working in precise patterns. "I can strengthen our shields temporarily," she offered. A Lyridian energy manipulation technique. As the nebula grew closer, the attacks intensified. A particularly powerful blast rocked the ship violently. "Shield integrity at 43%, the AI reported calmly. "We're not going to make it," Elian realized, watching the interceptors gaining on them. Vera's expression became resolved. "There is another option. A Lyridian can create an energy pulse strong enough to disable pursuing vessels, but..." "But what?" Elian asked, executing evasive maneuvers as another blast struck them. "It requires channeling life energy. Dangerous, potentially fatal." "Absolutely not," Elian said firmly. "It's our only chance," Vera insisted. "You risked everything for me. Allow me this choice." Before Elian could protest further, Vera's skin began to glow with intense blue light. She placed her 4 hands on the ship's control surfaces and closed her eyes in deep concentration. Energy coursed through the starlight systems, building to impossible levels. Elian watched in astonishment as the ship's power readings surged beyond all safety parameters. "Now!" Vera cried out. A massive pulse of blue energy erupted from the starlight, expanding outward in a perfect sphere. The pursuing ship systems failed instantly, engines, weapons, and shields going dark as the electromagnetic pulse washed over them. The starlight lurched forward into the nebula's protective embrace, while behind them, the disabled slaver ships drifted helplessly. Vera collapsed into the co-pilot's seat, her luminescence dimmed to a dangerous level. "Vera!" Elian moved to her side, cradling her as the ship's medical systems engaged automatically. "Worth it," she whispered weakly, her eyes finding his. "For freedom. For you." As the starlight disappeared into the nebula's swirling clouds, Elian held her close, silently willing her to hold on. They had escaped the hunters, but at what cost? The starlight emerged from the Carillion Nebula 18 hours later, crossing into Alliance space with minimal power. In the medical bay, Elian maintained his vigil by Vera's side, her condition stabilized but still critical after the energy pulse that had saved them. "Vital signs holding," the AI reported. "Cellular regeneration initiated but progressing slowly." Elian nodded wearily. He hadn't slept since their escape, focusing instead on navigating the nebula's dangers while monitoring Vera's life signs. Her skin, normally vibrant blue, had faded to a pale azure, her natural luminescence barely visible. "We're approaching Alliance Outpost Theta 9, the AI announced. "Defense systems have scanned our vessel and recognized Alliance registry." "Open communication channel," Elian ordered, his voice hoarse from exhaustion. The view screen flickered to life, displaying a stern-faced Alliance officer. "Unscheduled arrival, identify yourself." "Commander Elian Frost, Reconnaissance Division, authorization code Sigma, 7, Delta, 3-9. Requesting emergency medical assistance for a Lyridian refugee." The officer's expression changed immediately. "Commander Frost? Your vessel was reported missing 3 days ago. Medical team is being dispatched to Docking Bay 4. Within minutes of docking, Alliance medical personnel boarded the Starlight. Dr. Natalia Reeves, the station's chief medical officer, examined Vera with professional efficiency. "Severe energy depletion," she diagnosed. "Lyridians have unique biological systems. She's burned through almost all her reserves." "Can you help her?" Elian asked. "Yes, but recovery will take time." Dar. Reeves administered a series of specialized treatments while her team prepared to transfer Vera to the station's advanced medical facility. "Commander Frost," a voice called from the airlock. Station Security Chief Marcus Bennett approached with 2 officers. You're ordered to report to Admiral Chen immediately. We'll take custody of the alien. She's not a prisoner, Elian stated firmly. Standing orders regarding undocumented non-alliance species. She's under my protection, Elian interrupted. I'll take full responsibility. Bennett frowned but relented. On your authority, then. But the Admiral is expecting your report. Admiral Hannah Chen was not known for patience. As Elian stood at attention in her office, he delivered a concise account of discovering the illegal trading post, witnessing the slavery operation, and his decision to intervene. You violated at least 6 alliance protocols, Chen said after he finished. Engaged in unauthorized action in non-alliance territory, potentially provoked an incident with local authorities, and brought an unknown alien to a secure facility. Yes, Admiral. Chen studied him for a long moment. And you'd do it again, wouldn't you? Without hesitation. Unexpectedly, Chen smiled. Good. Because officially, I'm placing a reprimand in your file. Unofficially, we've been trying to crack down on that slaver network for years. Your evidence gives us justification for a full operation. 3 days later, Vera awoke in the station's medical facility. Elian was there, having barely left her side except when required for debriefings. You stayed, she whispered, her voice faint but her eyes clearer. Of course. Elian took one of her hands in his. How do you feel? Renewed. Her skin had regained some of its luminescence. Your alliance doctors understand Lyridian physiology better than I expected. They had help. Elian gestured to a data pad containing scientific notes. I shared what you taught me about your people. It seems your expertise in xenobiology helped save your own life. Vera smiled, a full, genuine expression that transformed her features. Another example of symbiosis. Over the following weeks, as Vera recovered her strength, Elian navigated the complex legal process of securing her refugee status. The Alliance Council was reluctant initially, relations with the Outer Rim territories were already tense, but the evidence of slavery operations proved compelling. The Council has granted your petition, Elian announced, entering Vera's quarters with official documentation. You've been granted full protected status and citizenship rights. Vera, now fully recovered, embraced him with all 4 arms. Freedom, truly. There's more, Elian continued. Admiral Chen was impressed by your scientific background. The Xenobiology Research Division has offered you a position. Working alongside Alliance scientists. Vera's eyes widened. I accept, of course. And. Elian hesitated. My next assignment is a long-term exploration mission. The Aurora leaves in 2 weeks. They need a xenobiologist. Understanding dawned in Vera's expression. Are you asking me to join your crew? I'm asking if you want to continue our journey together, Elian said softly. Whatever form that takes. Vera placed her hands gently on either side of his face. My people believe that souls who face death together forge connections that transcend ordinary bonds. And what do you believe? Elian asked. That some rescues go both ways. She leaned forward, her forehead touching his in the traditional Lyridian gesture of profound connection. I believe I found freedom in more ways than one. As their minds touched lightly, her telepathic abilities sharing emotions words couldn't express, both understood that their escape had led them not just to safety, but to a new beginning neither had expected to find among the stars. They had started as rescuer and refugee, but would continue as equals, explorers of the galaxy and of the unique bond between 2 souls from worlds apart, united by courage, sacrifice, and something that felt remarkably like love.